Hello everyone, this is Manju. Today we are going to see how to build a simple e-commerce micro frontend application using React and SingleSpa. SingleSpa is a JavaScript framework for building micro frontends independently within a single frontend application. Here is a simple architecture of the application we are going to build today. We'll have container application which is responsible to stitch the micro frontends together and present it as one single application. And we'll have three micro frontends: header, which is responsible for navigation bar; products, which is responsible for showing products grid and gives ability for the user to add products to the cart; and finally cart, which is responsible to show the products added to the cart. Then we are going to build a backend server using Node.js and Express. For this video, I'm going to use MongoDB as the data source. Okay, let's get into the coding now. Let's call the application that we are going to build today as eShop. So let's create a directory for eShop, which will hold all our applications for container, micro frontends, and backend server. Let's add our folder to the workspace. Let's cd to that. First, let's start with container. Let's create a folder for container. As mentioned, I'll be using SingleSpa to build the micro frontends. If you are using SingleSpa for the first time, you can install SingleSpa CLI using npm. Like basically, if you pm install global create SingleSpa. Create SingleSpa is a CLI that we are going to use today to create our micro frontends. As I have already installed on the system, I'm just going to skip it now. Let's cd to the container and create SingleSpa. Create SingleSpa command accepts two parameters: module type and framework. SingleSpa provides multiple mechanisms that you can use to register and load micro frontends. For this demo, we are going to use route-based navigation to load our micro frontends. So to use that, let's send module type as root config. And I'm going to use React framework today, but it also supports Vue and Angular as well. Okay, let's use npm as a package manager. Yes, I do want to use the TypeScript. Yes, so as we are going to use routes to load micro frontends, let's use SingleSpa layout engine to do that, which makes our lives easier. I'm going to use just my name as the organization name. Okay, let's try to run the application and see if it works. Okay, seems like it is running at the port 900. Okay, as you see, like the home page by default, it provides instructions to add instructions on how to add the shared dependencies and how to register your micro frontends. As we are going to use React in all our micro frontends, let's add React and React DOM as shared dependencies. Okay. Now let's go ahead and create micro frontends for header. Okay, mk. Let's make a directory for header. Let's cd to that, and let's use the create SingleSpa to create. Okay, as we when you are creating a micro frontend, which is not a main container, you don't need to pass the module type. So as the default value is basically specified as app parcel when you try to pass the framework explicitly, which is what we need for creating a micro frontend. So I'm just going to skip adding module type now. Let's use the TypeScript and let's use the same organization name. And for project, let's use it as header. Okay, let's go ahead and update our package.json to run this header on a specific port. I'm going to use 9001. And let's go ahead and add some packages for supporting the styling. CSS loader, CSS, I want to use SASS, so I'm just adding SASS and SASS loader. And let's install it. Let's go ahead and edit our webpack config for supporting styling files. Module, let's add roles. I'm going to basically use SCSS, so okay, I'm going to add the loaders that we just installed. CSS loader and SSS loader, and let's update our declarations to basically look for our styling files. I'm just going to copy this and then edit. We will have, let's call it content, and we'll have record of key value pair. Now, okay, let's go ahead and add the navigation bar here. We are going to have two items in our navigation bar, home and then cart. Home is the one that redirects to our products micro frontend and display the products page, and cart is the button that we are going to use to redirect to our cart micro frontends. Let's add it as hyperlink. Okay, and let me copy this, and I'm going to redirect to cart. Okay, now let's try to start the application. Okay, it is running at port 9001 as we specified. Okay, it's up and running now. Let's go ahead and register this new micro frontend in the container. For that, copy the JS URL that is being shown when you run the application. Let's go to the container. Let's close all other files and open index.ags file. There should be a place where we would be adding the import map. So you can go ahead and register our micro frontends here. Make sure that this is basically same as organization and the project name that we initially entered while creating the micro frontend, and paste the URL for the JavaScript file. Now let's go ahead and edit our layout. As header will be common for all our pages, I'll just move that outside root and edit this to show our header micro frontend. As we registered a new micro frontend, we have to restart. Okay, let's go to the browser and see if it works. Let's go ahead and add some stylings. I didn't want to spend so much time on stylings, so let me copy some that was available. Okay, let me import this and copy this styling. root.component.css. Okay, let's import it in our tsx file. CSS. Okay, let's run install. I don't remember if I ran it after making the changes for the styling. Let's see, let's try to start it again. Okay. Oh, okay, there's a typo here. Okay, now it's running. As we haven't yet modified the changes to basically load a different micro frontend when we click on the cart, so it's just redirecting to the home page. Now let's go ahead and create micro frontends for products and cart. Okay, let's try to create those parallelly. So I'll create two terminals now. Okay, mkvar products, cd products. Go back to products and see. Okay, we're going to use npm as usual. Organization name, my name, and products. Okay, let's go ahead and create the other one. Okay, let's go ahead and edit the port number that we are going to run this on. Let's pause it as 9002, and for the cart, let's pause it as 9003. Okay, and let's also make changes to support the styling as well. Okay, I'm going to copy this command. Out. I'm going to copy this command. Okay, now let's edit our webpack config. Let's copy the configuration from header project. Okay, what is this error? Okay, let's get rid of this error first. Let's go ahead and we don't require Babel configuration, so let's just set it as false for now. Now the error should disappear. Okay, let's copy the configuration for styling. Update in cart. Okay, and also let us update the declarations as well. Okay, let's try to register the new micro frontends in the container. Okay, I'm going to copy this and paste it twice. Okay, products and cart. Okay, the products we are running at port 9002 and port 9003. Products cart. Let's go ahead and add these new micro frontends in the layout. So by default, I wanted to show products grid, so I'm just going to refer to that micro frontend here, and when the path is cart, I want to redirect to cart micro frontend. Let's start our micro frontends and restart the container. Let's see if it works. Okay, so as you see, like we are loading a products micro frontend when we go to the home page, and when we go to cart, it's mounting the cart micro frontend. Now let's go ahead and create our backend server. Let's go to a new terminal. Let's call the backend server as server. Set it to 8, and now let's initialize package.json in the server using npm init. And also let's add, as we are going to use Express, let's also add some dependencies for Express and CORS. We need a CORS as we are running frontend and backend server in a different port. And let's also add .env, which loads environment variables from .env file to process.env file. Okay. Express goes .env. Now let's go to our server application and create server.js file. And let's create Express server here. First, we need to import Express module. And let's also import course. And this will create Express server. And let's specify some port. Before that, let me create a configuration file. And add port as 9004. If we don't have specified port in the environment file, we are going to use 9004 as default. And now we need to let Express know how to parse our request. So Express provides a function called express.json. JSON which passes JSON request and put it in request object, which we can use to basically get the body or headers or anything related to request. Now let's go ahead and listen to the port. Let's print a message so that we know that it is running. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add some routes as well. We have to import Express module here as well. So let's get Express router. We are going to use this router to register our endpoints. Let's print a console. This route is working. And let's send them some response. Hello world. And we need to export these routes. And we also need to add it as required in our server.js file. Okay, let's run it and see if it works. Okay, now the server is running on the port 9004. Let's go there and see if our endpoint is hitting. Oh, okay. Let's restart it. Let's see if there are any errors. Okay, seems like it's related to course. Okay, I need to use the course as a function instead of a variable. Okay, now it's working. Now let's try to process our config environment file as well. To do that, we have to import .env module and specify our config file using path .env. Let's change this to, just to test it, let's change this to 9005, but the server has to be running in 9004 as we were specifying port number in config.env file. Okay, so environment configuration is working now. Now let's go ahead and add 3 endpoints now. One to return the list of products, and second to return cart items, and third to add a product to the cart. Okay, I actually have some sample data that I can use to insert it. Let me copy this. Products equal to one endpoint for getting products and another for getting products added to the cart, and another for adding a product to the cart. So this is going to be post. So now let's just send products here. Let's create a variable to store the cart as well. Let's store it as a record of key value pairs. Key can refer to the unique ID that we have for the product, and value refers to the details of a product, including the quantity and price. Now let's set the cart add endpoint to basically add our product to the cart variable. Let's assume that we are getting ID from the body, and let's loop through products and try to filter our find the product that we are trying to add to the cart. If unique ID is equal to ID, cart item equal to quantity equal to 1. So if the item is already available in the cart, we need to edit the quantity. Otherwise, we need to basically add a new product to the cart. So if cart item is there, then quantity equal to m.quantity plus 1, else let's not do else. Instead we can actually assign directly here p comma quantity, and let's send okay, let's see if this works. Let's restart the server. Okay. Okay, it's a get endpoint. Okay, so it is working. Let's close all other windows. Let's try to query the code. Okay, right now as it's empty, it's going to show it as empty. And now let's try to add a product to the cart. In the body, it's going to be JSON. And let's pass the ID. Let's copy the first one. Then okay, let's see. Okay, we are doing everything right here. Okay, we are calling different endpoint. Code add. Okay, so let's try to query the cart products. Okay, if you see here, like now we are seeing the products adding to the cart, but there is one problem here. When we restart the server, let's try to do it as we speak. When we restart the server, our data is gone, our card is gone. So what we can do here is that we can store the products and cart in the MongoDB, and let's try to use MongoDB while querying the products and cart items. So to do that, I'm going to use MongoDB cloud to host our database. If you don't have account, you can create one. It's free, and it also provides one free cluster if you want to experiment on MongoDB. I already have one cluster created, so I'm just going to use this one. But if it's not there, it's easy to create. Like just click on create and just select the provider and region, and just hit on click create cluster. And once you create the cluster, to be able to access the MongoDB from your application, either you need to add the IP address in the network access, or allow it to be accessed by any IP address. So I already have this configured, but let me delete this and show you what I mean. Add IP address. So if you don't, you can add a specific IP address, or you can select like allow access from anywhere. Okay, Now let's go to our clusters. There, like beside the cluster, like you would see a connect button where it shows the instructions on like how to connect to MongoDB, connect using MongoDB shell or connect to your application. Uh, Let me try to connect using the MongoDB shell first. So I can just copy this command. Let's open the terminal. Let me change the database to eShop, which is our application name. Okay. Now let's insert our sample data into our MongoDB. db.products.insert many of. Before that, let's try to compress our data. I'm just going to use JSON lint. Now let's go to terminal. Okay. Now when we query it, or let's go to the MongoDB UI. Save that. Okay, now when you click on collections, go to products, you should see that the 8 products got inserted. Now let's go ahead and edit our server to utilize MongoDB to query the products. Okay, first let's create a file called connection.js. Okay, before that, let's install MongoDB package. Let's try to get Mongo client. And we need to specify the cluster URL. So to do that, go back to our cluster, click on databases, and if you click on connect using application, you should see the cluster URL for it. Just copy it and go to config environment and Mongo cluster URL. Okay. sys.env. Mongo cluster URL. And now let's create a client. To utilize new MongoDB driver connection management engine, we need to use new parcel as true and use unified topology as true. So we are going to pass those as options. Use new URL. And let's create a variable for storing our DB connection, and let's export two functions. One is to basically connect to a collection using our client dot if it is successful, we should have a DB object. So DB, and to connect to our database collection, so you can pass it using DB function. Let's specify the collection name here, and let's say a message saying that we are successfully connected to MongoDB. Successfully connected to MongoDB. Okay. Let's create a function for DB, which basically returns our DB object. Okay. Okay, we need a bracket here. Now let's go ahead and add it to our server.js file. And as we are going to utilize in all our endpoints, let's try to create a connection to MongoDB server while starting the application. If there is an error, let's console it. Let's see if we are able to get a connection. Oh, actually before that I need to go ahead and read the password here to connect to the cluster. Okay. Oh, there is a typo. Okay, now we are seeing a message, we are successfully connected to the MongoDB. Now let's try to edit our get endpoint to return the data by querying from MongoDB. Okay, let's delete this. Now we don't need this variable anymore. Let's keep the code for now. First, let's get a DB connection. Get DB of DBO. We need to get the DBO from the connection. DBO equal to require. Let's use our DB connect to query our collection for products. As we are going to get multiple items, let's convert into an array. If there is an error, let's throw 1. If not, let's send it in the response. Let's restart our server and check if it works. Okay, so if you see here, now there is an ID, basically, which is a kind of a primary key for MongoDB document. Now let's go ahead and edit our cart as well, cart endpoint as well. Now we'll just have a different collection name, so I'm just going to copy and make that. Let's test it. Okay, as we don't have collection for the cart anymore, so right now we are seeing it as empty. Let's try to update the cart add endpoint to add our product to the cart collection. Okay, let's get the database connection, and first we need to get the product details from our product collection first before we can insert it to cart collection. So let's write a query for that. Let my query equal to and on the second thought, let's try to query our cart collection first to see if that item is already there in the cart. If it is there, we need to increase the quantity. If not, we need to create a new one. So let's assume that we are going to add a product ID field, which is going to be a copy of the ID field. Let cart item equal to let's just use the same name just to avoid the confusion. My query function of error result if of error throw 1. If not, that means we have item in the cart. Let's create a variable for cart item. If it is there, then we need to basically update the record. So let's create our update query. Underscore ID. Okay, let's create a variable to hold MongoDB object ID. This function can be used to basically convert a ID to MongoDB object ID, which is kind of a primary key for the MongoDB document. So object ID of cart item dot underscore ID. Let new values equal to. So we can set a value for a particular field using set function that MongoDB provides. So let's update the quantity. Before that, we need to get a quantity for the existing item, just increase by 1. Let's try to call the update query. Update 1 of update query, and then we need to pass the new values. call this update result instead. While updating the record or updating the document. If not, one document updated, and let's send the new document. If it is not available in the cart collection, we need to insert a new one. To do that, let's try to get the product information using the ID. As the ID is a unique key, so we'll always have one, so let's just query for one. If there is another, so if we have a product, then we need to basically insert a new item to the cart. So let's write a query for that. Dot insert one off and try to pass the record. Let's call it as product. And quantity will be 1, as this is the first time that we are adding it to the cart. And let's write a callback function, insert result. If it is successful, let's send it back in the response. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and test it. And yeah, let's go ahead and test it. Okay, products is working, cart will be empty, and when added to the cart, the quantity should be 1. Okay, something is not working. It says 1 document created. Oh, okay, we need to return this result. Okay, now we are seeing the product. Let's go ahead and add a different product so that we can see the response in insert endpoint. Oh, okay, we need to restart the server. Okay, now it's inserted. And let's go ahead and check the cart. Okay, it's working as expected. Now, as everything is working from the backend side, let's go ahead and update the front end. Let's go to products and let's create a component folder. Let's create a file for showing our product list grid. Import React from React constant product list. Testing. Export default. Let's create a state variable for holding the list of products. By default, let's store it as empty, and then let's have a use effect that will run whenever this component is loaded. We need to specify an empty array if you want to run it only once when the component is loaded. Otherwise, like if you don't specify this, it's going to run this in the loop. Okay, now let's create a function to get our products from backend server. Constant response equal to if it's not okay, let's give an alert. Error while fetching products. If not, let's update our state variable as we are receiving it as JSON. Let's try to get the JSON first, and then use our setter method to set the result. Let's call this method. Also, let's try to add a function that will basically add our product to the cart, which would receive product and then the event. We're going to call our insert endpoint. Let's, as its post method, let's pass the method as post, and then headers will be content type, application JSON. Let's pass the body. As we only require ID, I'm just going to send just ID, which is going to be accessed in unique ID. Let's try to catch the error if there is one, and alert the user. Now let's give it a class name. Then let's through products to display the tile for each product. As we are running it in a loop, we need to use specify a key. As the ID is unique, I'm going to use that. You might run into issues if you don't specify a key when you are looping through a list of items. Let's show product image, which is available at image. Let's just give alternate text as image. We have not used style here. Then let's display the product name. Then the price. I'm going to consider everything is in dollars. Let's add a button to basically add this product to the cart button, and in on click, let's call our add to cart function. Let's render this product list component. Let me add some stylings for this product list. And import it in the product list. Let's restart our server. Okay, let's see if everything is working. Okay, let's fix some styling here. Okay. Okay, now this looks good. Let's copy the same files. We are going to display the same styling and grid in the cart as well, except that we are going to get the products from the cart instead of products database. So let's go to cart micro-frontend and create new folder components and paste it here. Here we don't need add to cart. So instead of cart, let's show quantity. quantity, and let's move the price below quantity, and which will be based on the quantity. Okay, then instead of products, we need to call the cart products endpoint to get the cart items. Error while fetching cart items. And update the root component. Let's see if everything is working. Okay, sweet. Let's try to add an item to the cart and see if it is getting reflected. Okay, now we see the quantity as 2. Okay, so today we saw how easy it is to build micro frontends using React and single spa. Please check out the description for the GitHub link for this project. In the next video, we'll see how to deploy these micro frontends in cloud. Thank you for watching this video.